Hello, welcome. So there's been a little bit of a gap between the 1846 video and this one, so I apologise about that. It's mainly because I have 1846 set up for a gaming session on Sunday and I didn't have the space, but I realised I could kind of shift things over just a little bit and film on the end of the table. So I'm going to give you a look at one of my other kind of recent favourites is Age of Steam. I'm currently going to be using a little caveat is going to be using the 3rd edition trains. I do actually have the 1st edition, which I've got over here, but I haven't really organised it yet because I haven't really had a chance. So it's still kind of in its various pieces. This is actually a solo map that is designed and published by Bezier Games, Ted Alsbach, but a guy on Board Game Geek. His real name is Chris Phillips. His Board Game Geek user ID is Rocket Surgeon. He's done a whole load of fantastic redraws of this and other games. He's also done these mats, which are in colour, and so they're really a great resource. And so one of my friends has printed it out for me, which is really lovely. So I just want to give him a shout out. So I'm going to be playing the solo. This is one of the solo maps, and one of the things about Age of Steam is there are over 100 maps of all different player counts and different scenarios, and so it's really a fantastic and very versatile game. It's almost more like a game system than actually a game in and of itself. The base box comes with it's called Rust Belt, which is like the American Midwest, as a lot of these train games are based on, but and that's a kind of a 4 or 5 player game, but you can really hunt down a player count that works for your group and use those. And so I'm gonna do a brief overview of how the turn works, and then maybe the specifics of the Barbados map, which actually comes in the 3rd edition, and then kind of explain what is different maybe about the setup, and then we'll kind of go into how you play, because the solo game really doesn't change a lot of the how you play rules. It's more the setup and kind of specifics. So we're going to move on to explaining the flow of the game. There's a fantastic breakdown on the back of the rules, and you can also print off some player aids on the BGG website. And so I'll kind of talk you through the order of the normal game and then maybe how it changes for the Barbados map. So the first thing you're going to do on every turn, and I'll bring this kind of into shot here. This is your score track around the outside. You've got your turn here. You've got your issued shares, which are here. Now every player starts on 2, but I've just uncovered it so you can see them. You've got your engine number, and then you've got your player order. Now obviously in a solo game there's only 1 player, but I'll talk through how the turn order works in a second. So the first thing you do every turn is issue shares. Now for every share you issue, you get $5. And so at the beginning of every game, you always start with $10 because you automatically have 2 shares issued. And we always start with engine level 1, and then you randomise the starting turn order. Okay, so the first thing you do is issue shares. Now, in a solo game, there's a limit for Barbados, which it's all written over here. Chris has put it in a really fantastic way on the same map, and it says issuing shares only 1 per turn. So if I wanted to, at this point, I could issue 1 share. I'm actually going to hang fire for the moment and keep my money, and it'll make sense why in the normal game you're not limited to how many shares you can issue. The only limit is 15 up here, but also every share that you've issued, you have to pay that back to the bank at the end of every round. So if you issue 6 shares, for the rest of the game you're going to be spending 6 of your income back to the bank before you even get to take your profit. And if you don't have 6 income, then you're actually going to be paying out of pocket. And then if you don't have that, you're going to be reducing your income. And if you can't do that, you're out of the game. And so controlling how many shares you take is a really important factor. And then the other thing to keep in mind is how powerful your engine gets. And we'll talk about that when we get to engine level. Okay? But that's the kind of the crux of the game, is really controlling your shares, your share price, and your income, and trying to balance those along with your engine level. So issuing shares. So I'm going to refuse to issue shares. Then we determine player order. Now, obviously we can't do this now. I can't really show you now, but if we had a couple of different players, let me keep this in front of us actually. Let me keep this in front of us now for the moment. And if we had a couple of players, and say I've got 3 of us, okay? Now what will happen is, I, being the random first player for the first round, I will bid on turn order. Now my choices are, if I pass, I immediately go to last place. Or I can bid, and then say I bid $1. So I put up $1 like that, and so now the bid will be $1. So then the black player will then obviously get to pass, and he'll get to the end, or he'll bid 2. And if he bids 2, he comes in front of me. And then the blue player can either pass and stay at the back, or he can bid 3 and come to the front. Now, as soon as you've placed a bid, so you've set a number, you are committing to that price, and the way it resolves is whoever ends up last still pays nothing, okay? And then whoever else then goes, who then passes, pays their last bid, but half of it, all the way up to the first 2. Okay, so in this case, it'd actually be both black and blue, would then pay full price. So in this example, I bid 1, but I didn't want to bid 4 because that's what blue's on, so I pass. Then it'll be, so then the blue, I've kind of mixed the order around, because you would remain in the original order, which was this. So you'd still bid in this order. And so it'd be I said 1, 2, 3, comes back to me, I pass. So I'm out of the bidding, and I go to the last place. Then black can either say 4 or pass, and at that point he would then come down here. Now if there was more players, he would only pay 1, but he's the second, he will have to pay 2, because that was his last bid, and he's of the first 2 players. And then he will obviously not say 4 because he's at 3, and then he will just pay 3 to keep in the first place. Okay, but obviously that won't happen in a solo game. So that's only really more of a theory. So I can remove those. Then in the new player order, the one that's just been bid for, and obviously you'll pay your money for your positioning, etc. In your new player order, you will then choose the actions, and the actions are all on this table over here. Okay, and now I've got lots of counters on here because there's some special rules with the solo game, but really they're all fairly straightforward. So you've got, we haven't talked about it yet, but later on there'll be a phase called moving goods, and if you put your counter here, then regardless of your position in actual turn order, you will always move goods first, okay, for this round. And then if you're in the first build, now we haven't talked about building yet, but again, there's a building phase that comes later, and regardless of turn order, you would be the first to build. And likewise, if you went for the engineer, which is this one, in the building phase, you get to build 1 more track than your allocation, and your allocation is 3, so you get to build 4. Then we've got locomotive. Now this is one of the 2 ways of raising your engine level, and so what that will do is it'll allow you to take cubes and deliver them further. And so when you take this engine level, you immediately knock your engine level up 1 and to a maximum of 6. And then you have urbanization. Urbanization is probably the biggest move from a kind of importance point of view. So you might notice that this is quite an extreme example, but you might notice that on the solo map, all the big hexes, all the hexes, all these hexes here that are coloured with the numbers, they're all cities. So that's where all these cubes want to go to, and they're all yellow. And we've got lots of different goods here. There's some are black, some are red, some are blue. There are purples, but they're removed for the solo game. And a city of a certain colour wants that colour. Now, this city here doesn't want its own yellow. It wants someone else's yellow. And so actually at the moment I've got 0. I've only got 1 yellow on the board. And I've got 3 yellows. Kind of this is the future market. So this is what's going to be coming up soon. So I've got 3 yellows here. Lots of black on the future. And then on the board, I've got a ton of blue, but no blue cities. And so one of the things you can do, and I probably should have had this set up ready before we started, is... I'll just pause it and try and find this tile. And we're back. So in the game there are some tiles and they all have a letter on and a colour. Okay? And in the solo game there's some removed, so there's 4 that aren't in the solo game. But basically black cubes go to the grey tiles, and obviously blue go to the blue tiles and red go to the red. Now on the larger maps for the multiplayer games, you have all the colours except for black printed on the board to start with. So this is one of the challenges of the solo game, that you start with the demand is all yellow to begin with, and then you kind of have to develop. So what the urbanization action does over here, if I bring it back, what the urbanization action does here is it allows me to place a blue tile anywhere on the board, and then I can obviously build to it and then try and deliver blue cubes there in the future. Okay? And then we have the production action. And the production action allows me to, before I put the cubes out, okay, there's a black bag over here, and I can draw cubes from that, and I draw 2, and I can add them into the different columns, because that will control what, and I've actually just realised, I'll do these in a second, but these all should also be full of cubes. And so then all these cubes will be full, all these little squares will be full of cubes, and on a bigger game, all of these squares and all these squares will be full of cubes, okay? And so when you're rolling your dice, and we'll go through this more when we're doing it, it will determine which columns you're delivering from and which cities, etc. Okay? So I need to finish that. Oh, and then finally, you have this last one here, which is one of those ones that will get ignored potentially very early on or with beginner players, but actually you'll realise later in the game that how important, and when you're playing a multiplayer game, how important turn order is. And this allows you to pass once in your bid, and when you pass, if you have the turn order selected, you don't instantly go to the back. You will be allowed to come back in and then bid again. In the solo game, the turn order's obviously gone. There's no reason for it. First build and first move are out. And one of the other rules for the solo game is once I can only reuse one of these again when I've used all 4. So for example, urbanization I'd love to urbanize every single round, but I only get to urbanize a maximum of, I think, 3 times, because there's 10 turns. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'll quickly add those cubes on. I'll just do it off camera. And I've got these little extra things so I can just mark off which ones I've used. So obviously it's not here. Okay, so we've selected actions. And so I say, for example, I'm going to urbanize. And then, so I just select that. I mean, I can just use this to block it off, actually. That's fine. Just do not use that one. So I've urbanized. And so then I don't actually do anything yet, but that will happen in the phase that it applies to. So urbanization applies in the building phase. And ironically, that is now, because we're now into the build track phase. And so what I can do is for every light green hex, okay, it costs you $2. For every dark green hex, which is a mountain region, it costs you $4. And on some maps there are rivers, and so that will cost you $3. And then there are some other rules for town tiles, which are these ones. But I'll talk about those when we get to them in a bit. And so I'll kind of just start building. Now, as I said, I think when we mentioned the engineer, that you get to lay three track. So one thing I'm going to do straight away is spend $2 and build here. Okay. So that's going to be $2. Because I want to be moving this guy to one of these. Now, in a multiplayer game, I can use one of my little tokens to say I own that, and I can put that there. Okay, and there are in the older versions of Age of Steam, you'd get something like this, and so I do have a set of those, but I haven't organised myself, and I haven't got those ready yet, so they're still a big giant jumble. Okay, so that's going to be 2, and obviously I've got 2 more to do, and I'm because I've urbanized. Okay, so I pick the urbanization action. I can pick one of the 4 tiles that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to pick the blue one. Now they're picking the blue one because there's so many blue out. I need to start doing something about them. And I think I might urbanize Brighton. So what happens is I cover up Brighton. Okay. I will then, which will obviously then be there, and then it's now a B. So whenever the B over here, B line triggers, I will get to use those cubes and put them on B, and then I can then place two more if I wish. And so I'm going to lay 2 more, so pay a 5 and come back with 1, and then place 1 here, okay, and 1 over here. And so I'm slowly connecting up my network. Now, building rules wise, okay, you always have to build from a city. I don't have to have connected it. I could have built over here. There's nothing stopping me doing that. And if you ever have if you ever leave a token like this, so it's incomplete, so it's there, then this track here was reserved for me for 1 turn, and then on the following turn I have to have built there, or I lose that, and then anyone can kind of build there. This hex is not reserved, so anyone can build there and potentially block me, but just this track line, so no one can connect into this line, but they could build in this hex in a way that doesn't connect. Okay, so now we're gonna move. So I've paid my money, I've urbanized, which is the action I've picked this time, and so I'm going to then move on to the next phase, which is moving goods. And so moving goods, everybody takes it in turn, and you move 1 good, and then everyone moves 1 good, and then everyone moves another good. Now, if there's ever a point where you either don't want to move a good or you can't, once per round, you may increase your engine level by 1. Okay, so I can move my engine level by 1, and I'll explain the kind of significance of that when it comes more apparent when I've got something to do with it. Because at the moment, I've got an engine level of 1, and an engine level of 1 means I can move down 1 piece of track line, not 1 hex, but But so this could be 3 hexes long. Okay, I could have gone this way. Or yeah, so that if I went this way, obviously it'd be more expensive because I'd be spending 8. But I could have got that way, and that would still be one engine's level. Okay, but then to go here, this way, would be another engine level. Now, I'm actually breaking a rule there. Whenever you deliver a good, if that colour, the first city that colour meets that matches it, will fulfill demand at that city. So even though if I had the engine level, I could get down to this one over here, because I've had to go through Bell Point, I have to deliver it to Bell Point. Okay. So I'm going to deliver this yellow to Bell Point, so that goes back in the bag. And whenever I do a delivery, for every step I've taken, I increase my income by that amount. So I've moved it one line, so I move it 1. Then I would obviously pass round and other people would take their turns and etc. And then it'll come back to my turn and I can then move again. And my engine level is 1. Now I could choose to increase my engine level, but at this point, I'm pretty much just going to deliver this blue and then put it, that goes in the bag and my income goes up by 1. Okay. If we can talk about what happens if you have to go kind of through someone else's line when we have a longer route maybe. So I've done move goods. Now we would collect income. Now my income is now at level 2. Okay, so I can take 2 income. Now I'm going to do this manually to begin with, but then in the future rounds I'm just going to, and you'll see why it can be really quick. So I'm going to take 2. Okay, and then I pay my expenses. So obviously running my trains costs me money, and the money it costs me is the 2 from my shares plus my engine level, which is 1. So I owe $3 to the bank. So actually that 2 I've just earned, I pay directly to the bank, and I now owe from my remaining 4 $1. Okay, so I've just had to spend $1. And that's basically what happens when you can't afford it. When you haven't got any money here, you have to then reduce your income, and if your income ever goes below 0, you're out of the game. So then there's a phase called income reduction, and I'll talk about it more when we're in the yellow, green, blue, or pink zone of the scoring track or the income track. Okay. Goods growth, and so then we take our dice and very carefully we roll them. Okay. And I've got a 5 and a 6, and so I take from the top here. Okay, so the blue was from the 5, so the blue comes down to the 5, and the black comes down to 6. Okay, and if I'd rolled 2 6s, I'd have taken 2 from the 6 column, etc. And whenever I roll a number that is above a letter, if that letter is already out, okay, so for example, I would have either a C or a D, those letters would also come out at that point. Okay, so if I'd rolled a 4, I'd have placed a new Q1B. Okay, you probably can't see it, but if I move it, it will get messed up. So you'll have to have a look on Chris's page if I link it in. Okay. Then once we've done goods growth, we can then advance the turn marker. So in a 2-player game, and it tells you on here, you play for 10 rounds. Though the final scoring for the solo game is slightly different from the normal game, so I will explain that. So we then go on to issuing shares. Now, I've only got 3 money. Now I'm going to need more money than that, so I'm going to issue 1 share, and that's the most I can issue. And so I'm going to take $5. Okay. We then obviously skip turn order because I'm on my own. And then we select actions. Now I can't pick Urbanize again. So what would I like to do? I've obviously got 2 blue here. Now, really, to increase my revenue, because we haven't really talked about it, but for every step you take, you go up by that many steps. So if I took this cube and I went to the new city B straight, I'd only earn $1 per of income level. But if I went from if I went through Crane Beach, okay, and made it a 2-step journey, I would then earn $2 for that 1 cube. And so then so I would end up getting 2. So these 2 could potentially be $4 if I went the roundabout way. And so what I'm going to do is take locomotive, which immediately increases my engine level. Okay, so to 2, it's just gone off screen there. So to 2, I'll just maybe eke that round a bit. To level 2, so that was my action. We then move on to the build track. And so I'm going to build 1, 2, okay. And that's then going to be for $4. And so I'm going to put a little train on to indicate it's mine. You don't really need to when it's only 1 player, but it is good. And then I've got $4 remaining. And so now comes the kind of crunch of the game, because do I risk expanding, okay, kind of above and beyond what I need this turn, because I'll be earning up to 6 this turn and I'll be paying for 5. So I'll be earning $1, which is good. So basically I'll have broken even. So I think what I will do is spend the 2 here and come this way over here. Okay. So I'm spending 2, and because it's not a complete track, I'll put it there. Now in a solo game, there's no risk of somebody else messing me up or blocking me. Okay. And then we move on to move goods. And so I've got a locomotive and an engine level of 2. And I'm going to take 1 of these blue cubes and go 1, 2. Okay. So I got from 2 to 4 on my income track. And then obviously I wait for everyone else to go, and then I go 1, 2, and I do it again. And so now I'm on to 6 income. Okay. And then I'm going to collect income, and I may as well collect income and pay expenses at the same time. So I just take or pay the difference. And so I owe 3 plus 2, and I've made 6. So I actually earn $1. And so I'm now suddenly in the black. So I've moved goods, collected income, paid expenses. And then again, income reduction won't happen until the yellow. Goods growth, so I'm going to roll 2 dice. And that's a 3 and a 5. So the 3 will take a yellow cube here, and the 5 will take a blue cube over here, which is actually really good because we've just made $2 from this. And actually here, I could deliver Bell Point's yellow cube to Bathsheba, but that's only $1, whereas I can go around via this new city down to Crane Beach, and that's going to be $2. So that's looking very good for me. Okay. And so then we've got income. So income reduction, goods growth, we've done, and then the advanced turn marker, we go there, and then we go to the next round. So I'm going to issue shares. Now I've got $3, and I'm going to be earning enough to survive. So I'm actually going to then issue $1 more because then I'll be balanced. And so I'm now on to $8 in my hand. I can then select my next action. Now I've got a choice of adding 2 goods to production or the engineer. Now at the moment, I think I need to do the engineer because I really want to get over to Bridgetown and then eventually connect to North Point, because what I want to try and do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to need to cut one of these cities out, because the highest my engine can travel is 6. So if I go this way all the way round, that route there is going to be 7. So what I will do is I'm going to miss out South Coast to make sure that my North Point makes it all the way down and get this 6 points, 6 moves on the income track. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm actually going to take the engineer, because I want to try and get up there as quickly as possible from now. Now I can really afford to do it, because I need $8 to do 4 pieces of track, and that's exactly what I've got. Okay, so now I've selected my action, and then I'm going to pick my building material. So come this way. Okay, so that's going to be $4 there and $4 here. Now, cities are automatically connected to if you're next to them, whereas towns, you have to build a special town tile or use a normal tile like this. Okay, but there are some white discs that you can use for the purpose, and so the towns can have these white discs like this. So the white disc will sit on the tile. So I'm kind of my arms in the way. The white disc will sit on the tile, and it would go there. But on this, I haven't got enough. Money or tile moves for that. That's what I'll do next time. So I've got these. Okay, so then I'm going to put that at the end to indicate it's progress, and I'm going to pay my 8 to the bank. Okay, so that's all my money. And then we've built track, and then we can move goods. So I've got a choice now. I could. So I'm going to be paying 6 out, and I'm earning 6. So at the moment I'm breaking even. Now I could move my yellow here 2 steps to Crane Beach, and miss my Oistins to the new city for 4, like I did the previous turn. But I now have connected Bridgetown, and Bridgetown is 1, 2, 3 away. So what I could do, because that will then take me to 9. Now I would, with 4, it would take me to 10. So I would earn $1 more, but because it's so hard to get the engine level high, and I'm planning on getting it to a 6 as quickly as possible, I want to really try and take every opportunity I can if I can afford to. So at the moment, if I move it to 3, I will now owe $1, but on my second round, I will take this Bridgetown, 1, 2, 3. And so I've earned 3, so I'll go up to 9 on the track. And so I've now made, so even though I'm now spending 7, I'll be making $2 because I'm now at 9. Okay, so I'm losing $1 short-term dollar here to try and hopefully gain this sooner. And that's the balance in the game is, do I go for that or do I go for the big prize? And so then I've moved goods, I then collect income and pay expenses. So I'm paying 7 and earning 9, so I earn $2. Income reduction again doesn't happen, so then goods growth, so I'm going to roll 2 dice. Okay, so we've got 6 and a 3, so the 6 will get another yellow cube, and then 3 will get a black cube. So the black, I haven't got any way of getting rid of the black at the moment, and what I probably want to do is try and get one of these towns up here to be black, a black town, so then I can not only save money from the save money from the track laying, but also get a way of getting these blacks up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So really I want whole town to be the black city, but I think because I won't have urbanization in time, I will probably, I suppose I could build from another direction actually. Yeah, so we'll do that. Okay, so we've done goods growth. We then advance the turn marker, turn 4, and then issue shares. So I've only got $2, so I'm gonna issue another share. Okay. And then so that means I've got $7 in my pocket. And then I'm going to select action. Now the only action I can select is adding 2 goods, and so what I need to do is draw from the bag before I roll the dice. So I'm just going to place the bag over the dice so I don't forget that. And then so I've selected the actions, now I'm going to build track. Now there's no reason why I need to actually build here, because obviously it's a solo game, so I can actually lose this control, which is what I'll take it off now to remind me that I've lost control of that. But what I will do is build from here. I'm going to build 1, 2. Now we haven't talked about towns, but a town costs $1 plus every entrance and exit. So that's going to be 3 there. So in total, although 7, which is exactly what I've got. And a town splits the track up. So a town, the ownership of this is here. And again, this one will be I've just realised something. So anyway, this will show you something, an interesting little quirk of the way I've chosen to do this and lose control of this track here. So I'll have control of this track until at least next turn. Okay. So I've built track and they can move goods. So now with moving goods, I don't have any good 3 moves, but I do have some good 2 moves. So I could move this yellow, 1, 2, and then move this yellow, 1, 2, and then that will give me 4 moves up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was my 2 turns. Now, of course, I could move up on the engine level, but I think at the moment trying to keep my money coming in is trying to get the balance of money coming in versus increasing your engine level. So then I've moved goods, so now I'm going to collect income. Now I collect income, so 13 minus 8, okay, is going to be 5. So I take $5, okay, and then we do income reduction. Now I said we're going to wait until we're in the yellow, the green, the blue, or the purple. Now, depending on which section you're in, and it does say it clearly on the thing, you go back that many spaces. So in the yellow, you go back 2 spaces, okay. And in the green you go back 4, in the blue you go back 6, and in the purple you go back 8. So and then if you manage to get above purple, you go back 10. Okay. And so we've done that. So then we do goods growth, and so remember we picked the production action. So we get to choose 2 cubes, and there are 2 blue cubes. Okay. And I get to place them wherever I want, where there's space. Now there's space in the 3, the 5, or the 6. So what I'm going to do is put them both in the 5, because that's the furthest city away from the blue. If I place them here or here, each of those cubes is only really worth 1. But if I put them in here, they're actually worth 2. Not an amazingly great amount, but better than 1. So done goods growth, we then advance the turn marker. Oh, sorry, I haven't quite done goods growth. I need to roll the dice. So I got a 6 and a 2. So we like the 6. So the last blue goes out from the 6. And then the 2 comes here. And then again, so we've got quite a few black to come. And then we're going to select action now. Because I've selected all 4 actions, so I've advanced the turn marker, I'm going to take I'm not going to take a loan. Because I've actually got $5, which is a fairly nice amount to do most things. So I'm actually going to leave the money at the moment. So I'm not going to take a loan, not a loan, a share. And then I'm going to select an action. Now I'm going to select Urbanization action. Okay. And then we move on to building track. So I'm going to urbanize, and we decided that we're going to urbanize with the let's urbanize with the C tile. Okay. Do I want to do that? No, let's urbanize with, urbanize with the C tile, and I'm going to urbanize over whole town. Okay, so that now completes this connection, and then I can actually then also build, I can then build more track. But actually at the moment, I think I'm actually just gonna hold fire. Okay, so I'm not gonna build any more track, and then I'm gonna move goods. Okay, so this is where I need to start really increasing my engine level, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna move my engine level up to 4, and then take this black cube and then move it up by 4. 1, so 1, 2, oh, it's only a 3. Okay, well, it's only a 3, but I can't do any better. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, now unfortunately, this track here, because I lost control of it, it could be, at the moment no one would get the money, but say a blue, we're playing a multiplayer game and the blue was there, I would increase my track by 2, okay, up there, and then I'd increase blues by 1. And in Age of Steam, there's no limitation. I could actually take a whole cube on everyone else's routes if I so desired. But at this rate, the way it's been done here, no one gets anything for that. They can use it, they just don't earn any money on it. So this 3 cube is actually only worth 2. And actually, every cube I put through this line is actually 1 less, which is kind of painful. So that was my increase my engine level and then move a cube. I've moved up my 2. And then so I've moved goods. So I collect income. So my income is 13, and my I've now got 9 outgoing. So then I earn $4. Okay. Income reduction. So I go back 2, and then I goods growth. So I roll 2 dice. And I've got a 5 and a 2. So now a 5 will place out here, and the C will get a cube, okay? Because it's in the same column as the 5. And then with 2, that will go there. So I'm actually getting quite a few reds, so I probably want to think about getting this guy down, and actually I need to think about where I want to put him. Because it has to go on a free town, so it might even be South Coast. I'll have to have a think about it. Okay, so goods growth, we then advance the turn marker and then issue shares. So I'm actually going to not issue shares because I've got 9 money now. I'm going to select an action. I'm going to select engine level, so I immediately go up to 5 because I'm trying to get this engine level as high as I can, so I can get the 6 going down this way. And then I'm going to So I've done the engine level. I can then build track. Actually, sorry, I'm going to do a little bit of a mulligan here. Having looked at kind of the options, I am actually going to take a share. I shouldn't really do that, but I wanted to kind of show you fairly competent play, and that's failing. So what I'm going to do is spend $10, which is quite a lot, and build this line here, because what I don't want to do is I don't really want to be losing that income level every time I do it, and I'm going to be losing it all on the greys and on the blue. Okay, so I'm going to, hopefully this will pay off. Okay, so I'm actually building a different track, and I'm paying 4 per mountain hex and then 2 for the last hex there. Okay, I'm just going to claim ownership of that. Okay. So that was expensive, but hopefully that will pay off from the thing. And so that actually now I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll increase my engine level once more. Okay, so my outgoings this round will be 12, and I've only got 11 at the moment, but then I'm going to earn 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, so collect income, pay expenses. So I will collect 17 and pay 12, so I earn $5. And then income reduction, so back down to from 17 to 15, and then goods growth, a 3 and a 6. So 6 is nothing left, and there's no D out, so that's no cubes out, and then I advance the turn marker, and I'm just going to pause it. And so I've advanced the turn marker, and so we move on to the next phase. I've got $9, so I'm not gonna issue a share, and so I've got 2 actions to select. So either I've got the +1 track or the production. Now, I probably want to be laying I've got the choice of the black or the grey down here for my next urbanization, and my next urbanization is either going to be up here, or down in the south coast. Now, I think I'm probably going to be going for the red, and the red most makes sense. I think either the south coast or up here. Here might be tricky because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So even these 2 here would need to go a different way, but that's not a problem. I could always skip Crane Beach. Okay. Okay, and we're on to the 7th round. I'm not gonna. So the first thing to do is issue shares. So I'm not going to issue shares because I have 9 money. And then we move on to actions. So what I want to try and do is set myself up so that in 3 rounds, I'm going to be placing either the red or the grey, and that's going to have to go here, here, or here. So, because the reds are here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Too many, so I need to cut off. Maybe I need to cut out Crane Beach. So if I aim to get the red, okay, I then need to build. I've already built to there, but I need to kind of build between here and here. And realistically, I don't need the engineer now, so I'm going to take the production. Okay, and so I'm going to put the bag over the dice so I don't forget to add the new cubes. And then, so that's my action, and then I'm going to build track. So I'm going to build between B and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. City number 5, and so that's going to be here. Okay. And so that's going to be $4. Now, I don't know if I want to spend any more money. I think I'm okay for the moment. So I'm just going to spend my 4 there. Okay, so that was my build. And then I move goods. Okay, so I can do one of these. So I'm at engine level 6 because I did the really long blue one. And so what I can do is now move some of these black cubes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I move this black cube here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the, well, effectively the black city. Okay, so that's going to be a move of 6. 1, 2. And I don't know if you can see it, just about. I'm just entered the green. And then it'll be, again, wait for everyone else to go, and then it'll be my turn again to move goods. And so really, I think the best one for me to do is going to be this 5 cube here. And I'm going to just move that along there, okay? And so I go from 21 to 26, okay? I then collect income and pay expenses. So now my income is 26, my expenses are 12, okay? So I take 14, money. And then we do income reduction. So now I'm in green. My income reduction is 4. Now the income reduction is trying to model really as your business is expanding, your overheads and your general running costs are going to increase. And so that's really where your big kind of income reduction is really trying to streamline a lot of that back office kind of admin stuff that you don't really want to be dealing with in such a smooth game like this. We then do goods growth. So I chose production action, so I'm going to draw 2, and really I'm hoping for probably grey or blue because they're the ones I've got already out, or maybe red, and I've just drawn 2 red. That's quite surprising. And so really now, because I know that I'm probably going to make this the red city here, and I want to be making 2 or 3 the red. So I'm going to put 1 in 2 and 1 in 3, okay? And then I'm going to roll. And I just got a 1 and a 2. So 1 will get a yellow, and 2 will get a second red, which is fantastic, okay? And then we advance the turn marker, and then we're going to go back to issue shares. So again, I've actually got a ton of money now, so I'm at 15. No, I'm at 19 even. So I'm not going to issue shares, and then select action. I have to select the play 1 extra track. We'll see what happens, because what I can possibly do is spend some money to connect up here, and then take the blues around the long way, which is something I can think about doing, and then I can just work out which. So if I go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So really, I want to go from Bathsheba to this town here. It'll have a name. It is Speightstown. Okay. So if I go from there to there, I can then take the blues around the outside and increase my income that way. So I've selected my action, then I'm going to build track. The only downside to doing this is it's going to cost me 12, and so it's whether I'm going to be earning more than 12. I have got 3 more. I've got 3 more goods rounds, so I think it's probably worth doing. And then it's just working out whether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So really, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or so it's whether I wanted these 2 to be 6s or this one to be a 6. Really, that's the choice. So I think I'll probably connect this new city to Bathsheba, and that's going to be $12. Okay. Okay. Just keep my change nice and neat. So I've built track. I'm not going to build my fourth track. I just don't think there's any point to it. So then I'm going to move goods. Now, obviously, these reds are waiting for this to be urbanized, so I can't actually do that. So what I will do is then do the blues. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be a move of 6. Okay. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm in the blue, which is -6. So that was going to be, it's going to feel fairly painful when that is applied. I'm then going to collect my income, which is 33, minus my costs, which are 12. And so that's going to be 21 taken. 21, and then our income reduced by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we do goods growth. And so we're just going to roll the 2 dice. Okay, and that's going to be a 5 and a 6. So we take the top one from the 5, put it here, which is really good because that's going to be my another cube for my long blue one. And then the 6, there's nothing in 6, and D is still here, so actually nothing gets put out. And then we're going to advance a turn marker. And then at the beginning of this round, these are all available now, again. And then we select our action. So I'm going to select Urbanization, and I'm obviously going to pick this one because there's no black cubes left anymore. And then we get to move on to build track. So I'm definitely going to be upgrading. And so when you urbanize a town that's already built, you just remove this tile and place your tile over the top. So you have actually wasted that money, but it was useful while I had it because it got me 6 income, or maybe 5 income at the time. Okay, so I'm just going to put these back. So I've done that. Now the question is, do I want to be building anything else? Really, at this point, I'm just going to be saving up money. Because in the, and I'll talk about the kind of final scoring when we get there, but in the normal game, you score slightly different than the way the solo game runs. And so we'll kind of talk about the differences, and I'll explain how you score in a full game of Age of Steam. So now it's on, so I'm going to build track, I'm going to pass on building any track, I've urbanized, and then I'm going to collect, I'm going to move goods, okay? And so now I want to be moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I've moved all the way. I've moved around the island the long way to get 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be. So I've earned. So I've got myself up to 39 this round. And so then we move on to collecting income and paying expenses. So 39 is going to be 27. So that is 25 and 2. Okay. And then we income reduce. So I actually reduced by 6. And then I goods growth. So we want to roll. And I really want to be rolling 3, 4, 5, 6s because there's so many reds on there, but they're covered by other colours. So I've got a 5 and a 6. So the 5 is going to come out again. So let's go down here. And the 6, there's nothing to come out for that, unfortunately. Okay. We then advance the turn marker. And so this is going to be the final round. Okay. I'm just going to grab. So I'm just going to grab some 25 chips and change up my money. There you go. So we're on the final round. At this point, adding 2 goods makes no difference because I'm not going to see those. Engine level makes no difference because I'm already at 6, and so the only choice to have is placing 1 track, but I'm really not going to be using it. And so we kind of come to actually, I suppose there's one possibility I could do with the extra track, which might get me a little bit more money, but it's whether the money I'm earning is worth it. So we'll have to see. Because at the moment these are all worth 5, and so that's because if I go around this way. Now what I could try and do is build it in such a way that I get a new city. So I could build down here, through here, and then into Bathsheba this way. And so I'm adding a new city to my run, which is a possibility. And actually that might be a good thing to show you, because then I can show you what happens when you build on a tile that already exists, because there are complex track that you can then use. So I might do that. So I've picked the engineer, we then move on to build track. So let's try that actually. So there's a whole bunch of kind of tiles that are what is known as complex tracks. So crossways like that. And so what I'm trying to look for is one that is two curves, because I'm trying to build on this curved track. Where is it? So it's going to be this one here. Okay. So there. Okay. So this is the track I'm replacing. Okay. And so what I'm doing is, if I can find I'm building here. So that's going to be 4. And then complex crossing in a mountain would be 6. So if I was playing that straight down, it would be $6. But when I'm replacing simple 2 complex, it's always 3. So it's going to be 4, 3, and then 2 straights for another 4, and another 4. So that's going to be $15. Okay, so pay one of my 25s and get back 10. Okay. Okay. So I've just built this one, and now this track is also owned by me, and this could potentially be owned by 2 different players, even though they cross, and that's allowed. And so I've just given myself an extra potential point of income by doing that. Okay, well, potentially 2 points of income. So then I move goods. So now just to double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to move both. I may as well do both at the same time. So I'm going to move those by 12, move them together, and then increase by 12. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. And so I've now moved to 45. And so 45, obviously, minus 12 is, we know, is 33. We've just done that. So let's take 33 is my net once we've taken away my expenses, and then we income reduce. Now, because I'm in purple, I reduce by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see how much more difficult it is to stay in the higher income bands, but also how lucrative it can be if you can manage it. And then a goods growth. I'm not going to bother because this is the last final round, so I'm just going to be putting cubes out for no reason. And then we advance to turn marker, so that's the end of the game. Okay, so you've seen one full solo game of Age of Steam. And the way the Age of Steam solo game scores, and it's written on here, it says after 10 turns, pay back all loans. Okay, so I pay back 30 because I've taken out 6 loans. So that's going to be, so of my, what have I got here, 73, I pay back 30. Okay, so that goes back to the bank. And so my final score for this solo game is going to be 25, 30, 40, 43. Okay, so 43. So that your score to beat is 43. Now, the way so let me put that back and I'll kind of explain the way the game scores in the actual full game of Age of Steam is slightly different. What you do is For every share that you've taken out, you reduce your score by that many. Okay, so this is no longer your income, this is your score. So now we go to 31. You then triple that number. Okay, so from 31, I'd go to 93. And then on top of 93, for every complete piece of track I've got, so tile in a complete section. So if it was incomplete and it was half built, it wouldn't count. So I'd remove all those first, and then I could count it up. So there'd be 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 102, 103, 104. So this counts as twice. 105, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 117. So my final score on this game would be 117 if it was a true game. But obviously it's slightly unusual because I'm the only player. So a normal game would obviously have more people. If, for example, it was like this, okay, then the presence of this town would actually add a point for this side and a point for this side, okay? And so that's something that's quite interesting. You can actually, it's worth almost more points having the town there at the end, right at the end of the game, but it might be worth more having the city for the whole game. And so that is how you score and play Age of Steam. If there are any thoughts, kind of put them below, or any queries about rules. I probably will try and do a full Age of Steam Rust Belt at some point, playing kind of several players, or maybe invite somebody to play with me. I'll see how that goes. So yeah, if you want to like, comment and subscribe, give me feedback, that'd be really helpful. Tell me what's working, tell me what's not working. I'm going to keep doing this, so hopefully you're going to be enjoying the content. I'm enjoying doing it, so that's great. And I'll hopefully see you soon. Goodbye.